Members of the violent MS-13 street gang enlisted a 19-year-old girl to lure another teenager into a darkened Montgomery County park where he was stabbed more than 40 times and killed, according to police accounts of the county's 10th gang-related killing in the last 10 months. The accounts, filed this week in Montgomery District Court, underscored the horror of the slaying, with at least 3 assailants, one of them just 16 years old, who either held down the victim or repeatedly stabbed him. "We really are seeing an unprecedented level of gang-related homicides," said Captain Paul Lickery, director of the Montgomery Police Department's Special Investigations Division. In one of the suspected MS-13 killings last year in the county, assailants allegedly threw heavy rocks down on the victim as he crawled away from an attack toward a stream, according to court records. In another, the victim was told, "Get on your knees," before being shot in the face, neck and shoulder while in the woods. In the latest case, the June 16 death of Christian Antonio Villagran Morales, 18, in Macomb King Park in Gaithersburg, police arrested 2 suspects late last week, and are looking for 2 more. Vanessa Alvarado, 19, was one of 2 suspects arrested in connection with a June killing in Montgomery County. Courtesy of Montgomery County Police at a news conference Thursday, police identified the 2 arrested suspects as Vanessa Alvarado, 19, and Juan Gutierrez Vasquez, 16. They are both from Gaithersburg and charged with first-degree murder. Gutierrez Vasquez is being charged as an adult. They are both in police custody and each is being held on $1 million bond. Police said they were also looking for 2 additional suspects in the murder and warned they are on the run and could be armed. They were last known to be in the Wheaton area, police said of the suspects they identified as Oscar Ernesto Delgado Perez, 27, and Jose Correas Ventura, 20. Both are of no known address and Ventura also goes by the name Jose Correa. Authorities asked for the public's help so they could get them into custody as soon as possible so they can no longer contribute to MS-13 mayhem, according to Captain Darren Frank, director of the Montgomery County Police Major Crimes Division. Frank described the victim as a hard-working young man who was doing landscaping work in the area. "He did nothing wrong," Frank said of the victim. In court records, one of the arrested suspects claimed the victim was a rival gang member. But detectives have found no evidence of that, and said the assailants could be making up the claim to try to gain street credibility. Alvarado is accused of being the 19-year-old who lured Villagran Morales into the park, according to a police affidavit. Detectives allege that she sent repeated text messages to the victim, on the pretense of meeting at the park to have sex. At the park, members of MS-13 came up to Alvarado and Villagran Morales and asked him if he wanted to go into the woods to smoke marijuana, police said. Police are looking for Jose Correas Ventura, left, and Oscar Ernesto Delgado Perez, right. Courtesy of Montgomery County Police. Unfortunately, Christian made the decision to go into the woods with them. "He did not come out of those woods," Frank said. In earlier Montgomery gang slaying, attackers stab, throw rocks, at victim Gutierrez Vasquez, 16, gave a detailed rundown of what happened next, police said. He stated he is a member of the MS-13 criminal street gang and this was a murder of an alleged rival gang member, detectives wrote. He stated the victim was lured into a wooded area and attacked by his co-conspirators. He stated he initially held the victim's legs down, while others were stabbing the victim, and then he also stabbed the victim with a knife. Court records do not indicate if Gutierrez Vasquez or Alvarado have retained attorneys. Police describe Alvarado as an associate of MS-13, a large gang with ties to El Salvador. Detective Dimitri Rubin, one of the investigators working the case, said the suspect, Gutierrez Vasquez, came to Montgomery County from El Salvador in February and probably joined MS-13 after arriving. "I think he was recruited here," Rubin said. Rubin said that Alvarado was born in the area and attended schools here. "She had every opportunity to be a normal kid." court records show she was born in Silver Spring. Reuben said the victim, originally from Central America, came to Montgomery County about 2 months ago from New Jersey. Police said he was living with cousins. Unfortunately, he got involved with the wrong young lady, Frank said. "It's absolutely senseless," said Frank. "This young man was a hard-working young man. He came down here for a job." The Mara Salvatrucha, or MS-13, operates drug rings, human trafficking and prostitution networks extending from its base in El Salvador to Mexico, the United States and Canada, according to the Treasury Department. In October 2012, Treasury designated the group a transnational criminal organization. In Montgomery County, Lickery, the police captain, said that 6 of the 10 gang-related slayings are linked to MS-13, and the other 4 are linked to local neighborhood gangs, often called crews. For years, MS-13 has been the Washington region's largest and most notorious gang. In 2014, after years of relative quiet for the gang, FBI officials noted an upswing in violence. Experts attributed part of the resurgence to gang leaders in El Salvador attempting to reconstitute operations here in order to make more money. In a report written last month, Montgomery police officials cited another factor for the renewal: the wave of teenagers migrating, without parents, from the gang violence of El Salvador and other Central American countries. It's not necessarily that the teenagers are arriving as hardcore gang members, but what seems clear, Lickery said, is that by the time the teenagers get to Montgomery County, they often are isolated, broke, unable to speak English, and prime targets for area MS-13 members. They are probably the most susceptible youths for gang recruitment, Lickery said. They fall into this trap. They don't have family to necessarily fall back on. And that recruitment is taking on modern-day approaches, centered in large part on social media. Existing gang members, in Montgomery and in El Salvador, follow social media postings by the new immigrants, looking for connections they may have to certain towns or people in El Salvador. They then use that information as leverage to threaten and bully teenagers into joining gangs. It's a small world, Lickery said of the connections. The newcomers, living in neighborhoods that already have a presence of MS-13 and its rival, 18th Street, can feel a need for protection, which also drives them to gangs. In brutal killings, officials see attempt by MS-13 to rebuild. MS-13's increased presence seems to have made the local, neighborhood gangs more threatening as well. Your violence has to match the other group's violence, Lickery said. In their report last month, delivered to the Montgomery County Council, police officials discussed the teenage migrants. Local crime and safety alerts breaking news about public safety in and around D.C. sign up after making their precarious journeys. They often find their expectations do not match the realities of the economic opportunities, cultural barriers and family situations they find here, the police officials wrote. The resulting isolation that many of them feel or experience makes them more susceptible to victimization, gang recruitment and participation in criminal activity. Utilizing social media and the internet to conduct research, MS-13 and the 18th Street gang target vulnerable, newly arrived youth by threatening to harm their families and loved ones back home, the report also stated. The very real potential for the gangs to carry out these threats back in Central America, out of the reach of American law enforcement, forces these targeted young adults to comply with demands to join the gangs, act on their behalf, or make recurring extortion payments, the report added. Investigators asked that anyone with information on the case or the whereabouts of the 2 wanted suspects call 301-279-8000. To be eligible for a reward, tipsters should call 1-866-411-TIPS, 8477.